Hello, and welcome to this World Geography online training content video brought to you by the Georgia Department of Education. In this video, we will be addressing Georgia Standard of Excellence SSWG 1A through G, dealing with the climates and physical features of the world and the respective impact on human settlement patterns. Often we don't think about the impact our natural world around us has on who we are. However, in many ways, it is our environment around us that shapes us. A short time ago, I was driving across an interstate freeway after dropping my oldest son off at camp. As I drove the 2 hours home through a very rural area, I was somehow hit with the realization that I was traversing across a land full of differing features. As I drove, I paid careful attention to how each feature was used differently by the people in those areas. From rolling hills to flat plains to creeks, I was making connections between the physical geography and human geography, something I'm always asking my own students to do in the classroom. The connections were plentiful that day. Our world, the landscape, the physical features do impact who we are, and in no more fundamental way than where we live. That will be our essential question for this standard in this video. How does physical geography impact where we live? We will not be able to cover every possible way that every possible land feature impacts settlement patterns here. That would take too long. However, we will be able to address several of the most influential physical features on settlement patterns. For each landform, we will discuss push and pull factors as it relates to settlement patterns. Again, by no means is this an exhaustive list. Also, it's worth noting that there are examples that fall outside the standard application of these push and pull factors, Incas in the Andes Mountains, for example. However, the impact of these landforms on settlement patterns can generally be applied to most areas of the world. Let's start by taking a look at river systems. River systems are absolutely essential for human settlement. River systems provide human beings' most fundamental element for survival: fresh water. Fresh water is needed for drinking, watering crops, and transportation. A society without a supply of fresh water is short-lived at best. All one has to do is look at the great lengths taken throughout history to gain access to fresh water. Daily trips to the river, aqueducts, canals, and modern indoor plumbing are all examples which show an understanding of humanity's need for fresh water. Therefore, as we look around the world, population densities increase substantially around river systems like the Mississippi in North America, the Amazon basin of South America, the Rhine, Danube, and many more in Europe, the Nile and Congo systems of Africa, the Tigris, Euphrates, Ganges, Indus, Brahmaputra, Huanghe, Yangtze river systems of Asia. And that's not it. Thousands of river systems around the world provide basic human needs to billions of people. At the same time, these rivers can produce devastating floods that wipe out homes, farms, and human lives. In fact, the Huanghe, or Yellow River of northern China, has the nickname China's Great Sorrow because of its disastrous flooding throughout history. Does that stop people from living near this great river? Of course not. Why? Because the need for fresh water outweighs the possibility of being wiped out by it. Amazing. And you know what else is amazing? Those same devastating floods provide thick nutrient deposits over the land that's wiped out. So in a way, rivers are actually still providing, even in the midst of devastation. Next, let's look at mountains and mountain ranges. Like rivers, mountains impact settlement patterns of humans as well, with both push and pull factors. At the most basic level, mountains push human population away because high elevation leads to highlands climates, which makes it increasingly difficult to grow food. Mountains also make travel less than optimal. So as we look at population density maps near mountain ranges, we see fairly low levels of population near the Rockies and Appalachians of North America, the Andes of South America, the Alps of Europe, the Zagros and Himalayan mountains of Asia. That view would be a bit too simplistic, though. There are also pull factors that influence settlement patterns near mountains. For centuries, mountains have provided a natural defense barrier against attackers, and have therefore had a positive relationship with higher population densities. For example, two of the world's greatest empires were protected, in part, by the Alps mountains of Europe, the Greeks and Romans. Additionally, mountains also typically provide rich mineral deposits which can fuel a local economy and therefore lead to more human settlement. As you can see, it's not always so black and white when trying to determine which physical features are good and which are bad for human settlement. Let's get back to water features for our next topic. Oceans have their own set of push and pull factors. For the most part, oceans are a strong pull when it comes to human settlement patterns. Oceans provide a natural defense against attackers, plentiful food if one is willing to catch it, and transportation options. Oceans are also a climate modifier. What I mean is water temperature fluctuates less than air temperature and therefore can influence air temperature to stay in a moderate zone. This is why climates near oceans typically have more moderate climates. In other words, it never really gets too hot and never really gets too cold. The further away from the ocean, the climate becomes more temperamental, because the air temperature is not as influenced by the water temperature of the ocean. This idea is called continentality. Humans tend to enjoy moderate climates more than extreme climates. Now, the ocean does have push factors as well. For example, tropical storms form over large bodies of warm water and can cause devastation near coastal areas. Our next landform may be as equally important to human survival as rivers are. In fact, they pretty much go hand in hand. Plains are low and flat land, which is ideal for agriculture. As humans transitioned from nomadic to sedentary, having access to plains was essential. The ability to grow and store food is the linchpin to a thriving culture. Therefore, plains have a naturally large pull factor when it comes to human settlement patterns. Flat land is infinitely easier to cultivate than sloped land. Few cultures have been able to master terraced farming, a technique which cuts small strips of flat land into the side of sloped land for farming. I like to think of the comparison between vacuuming a large, flat, open floor versus trying to vacuum the stairs. Who likes to vacuum the stairs, right? It takes longer, it's arduous, and just plain, no pun intended, inconvenient. So therefore, human settlement patterns tend to gravitate toward plains like the Great Plains of North America, the Pampas and Llanos of South America, the Northern European Plain of Europe, where else, the Northern Manchurian Plain of China, and many, many more around the world. These plains have provided the food that has encouraged thriving civilizations there. Plains also make transportation of people and goods easier. However, plains do have their push factors as well. Plains tend to be a swinging gate when it comes to invading armies, and provide little in the way of mineral deposits in the earth. For our last physical feature, let's look at deserts. So far, we've seen that most physical features have both pull and push factors. With this physical feature, it's hard to make an argument there's much of a pull factor. Although, the Bedouins of the Sahara and the entire cities of Phoenix and Las Vegas may disagree. Out of those three groups, though, the only people that don't have ready access to climate control are the Bedouins. The arid climate allows for little agriculture and threatening temperatures. The Bedouins of the Sahara survive by moving from oasis to oasis in search of fresh water. As a general rule of thumb, deserts push human settlement patterns away at an alarming rate in places like the Atacama of South America, the Sahara, Kalahari, and Namib of Africa, the Rub al Khali and Taklamakan of Asia, and the outback of Australia, just to name a few. And while we're on the topic, deserts need not to be hot or sandy. The only distinguishing factor of a desert is its annual precipitation total. In fact, most of Antarctica is one large white desert, and it is certainly neither hot nor sandy. However, it does receive less than 10 inches of precipitation most years, which technically qualifies it as a desert. While we weren't able to cover all the physical features and all of their impacts on human settlement, I hope this video did provide you with some general information about the most significant physical features and their impacts on population around the world. Remember, there are many connections between the physical and human geography of the world, but none more fundamental to who we are than where we choose to live. Thanks for watching.